Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with Boston-based jazz instrumentalist and composer Henry Godfrey. We talked to him about his newest 2022 sophomore release with his jazz orchestra called Attitude and Gratitude. It includes a collection of tributes to the many communities and experiences that have shaped his artistic vision and worldview. Over the years, he has performed his own compositions in venues and festivals across North America and Southeast Asia. As a composer and arranger, he has worked with esteemed groups like the U.S. Army Blues and the Berklee Concert Jazz Orchestra. Dig this interview.
Hey, thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Excited to talk.
Yeah, man, me too. I really enjoyed Attitude and Gratitude, and I actually am profiled it on the show already, so I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. So, again, thank you. I appreciate it. And to begin everything, you know, we all went through quite a time with COVID over the last couple of years. How did you survive that time, and how did it change you?
Man, it was a very turbulent and eye-opening time. I finished a master's program right in May 2020, right in the thick of it. And the first year of it, I was sort of living and working on writing things, coming up with ideas, arranging stuff to be inspired. During that time, I also went back through some old live performances and things with my that I had done of my big band pieces. I found a couple, performances that I liked. During that time, I also worked on or tried my hand at doing some virtual recordings where I got people to all record on their own microphones in different bedrooms. One of those was actually recording of the last tune on Attitude and Gratitude, We'll Get There. We re-recorded it in a studio for the album, but when I did that online recording, it was actually that recording that let me, that ended up winning the ASCAP Herb Alpert Award, Young Composers Award for that year. And having projects like those kept me going during that time, and especially ones where you involve so many people, it just reminds you that reminded me that circle of trust and music making was still there.
That's a pretty big deal, and it probably feels pretty good to have an album out and the opportunity to not only get that out to people during a time where the world's opening up, but live shows and just overall, how does the release feel?
The release feels awesome. I'm so excited to get this music out, finally show it to everyone. There's so many of these tunes are simultaneously tributes, thus the Attitude and Gratitude, tributes to communities or people that have mattered so much to me, and that being the gratitude part, and then the attitude part being, and here's what we have to say, this up-and-coming band that wants to show everybody what we got.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I'm hoping that the listener gets to hear sort of how excited and how unbounded the folks in this band are. And I mean, of course, with my writing, I'm paying tribute to a lot of groups. Mad Max, for example, is a tribute to Washington, D.C. I grew up nearby Washington, D.C., so it's a big go-go party. For those who don't know go-go, it's this awesome music that came from D.C. that innovators like Chuck Brown and Rare Essence were kind of the creators of. Also, just the incredible performances by all these wonderful musicians that spent their time with me on this album, like on For McCoy, which is already out there for everybody to listen to. Pritesh Walia on guitar and Rowan Bartram on piano, both just give incredible solo performances that I think are really elevating.
That's actually the tune I picked to profile on the show, so that's a wonderful, wonderful song, for sure.
Thank you.
And then, so, talk to me a little bit about your childhood. Where were you born and raised?
I grew up in Maryland, in a town right outside Washington, D.C. called Rockville. It's a nice place to grow up. In the D.C. area, there were a lot of exciting opportunities as a teenager to go out and gig. I'd some nights I'd drive into the city and play a gig at some club like Columbia Station or Twins Jazz from like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then go to school the next day and work on algebra.
So are you in Boston? Are you based in Boston right now?
We're based in Boston right now, yeah. I'm living up here. I've recently started teaching music history at a college in Newton as well. But a lot of the folks that are in this band are either just recently out of school or about to finish school. And so part of what I'm trying to do with this band, and part of the reason to have a big band, is to have a large community of musicians that are still working together, even when you don't have that structure of school anymore.
To be involved in a big band the way you are, you know, you've had to have seen a show, I would imagine, or listened to recordings that really got you into that mind frame. What was the first live show or inspirations that you had to get into the whole idea of a orchestra big band?
Again, going back to growing up around D.C., large presence that was in the music education community there. It's all those military bands, so like the Air Force Jazz Band, the Airmen of Note, the Army Blues, the Army Big Band. They actually ran a lot of summer programs for teenagers that I think were really important in shaping not just me, but a lot of great musicians who are out working now. At one of those workshops, it was called the National Jazz Workshop. There was an opportunity to both hear these bands playing their arrangements and compositions for the students, and then at the end of the week, students who were interested in being composers and arrangers could have a piece played by that big band. So that one was specifically run by the Army Blues. So my first piece I ever wrote for big band got played by the Army Blues. So it's kind of inspiring to start from there.
Absolutely, I'd say so. So talk to me a little bit about, every day you wake up, you get the chance to make music and be a musician. What's the best part of being a professional musician for you?
I think it's the community. There's something really magical, especially about being a jazz musician, that you can show up to gigs with people you've never met before, but you have the shared language of knowing how to play standards or just knowing how to play big band stuff too. In my case, I've had plenty of people that I met for the first time when I was handing them the sheet music to play on a gig later that week. And just having that shared drive to make something awesome at the end of the day is something that always feels really special.
So now that the world's opening up, you got a new album out, things are happening. What are you looking forward to now as kind of the year unfolds and we start hitting a new era in life?
I'm looking forward to getting this band playing out in more places. So far, we've been playing in a couple clubs around Boston this year, but I want to start taking them more and more places. If a bunch of people are listening out in Kansas City, hopefully someday we'd like to come out there too. And in addition to that, I'm looking forward to, more than anything else, just working on the next album. I've got a whole bunch of arrangements I've done with special guests that have sat in on gigs recently, or arrangements of tunes written originally by members of the band. And I would love to do an album just of all of those arrangements, and that feel of having all these different ideas filtered through the big band is, again, part of that communal idea that I strive for.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see any jazz band or musician, where would you go? Who would you see?
Oh, Duke Ellington for sure. You got it. It's like the perfect mix of just really swinging grooves while also telling like these really interesting, complex stories. I think of like Home Parallel to Harlem or all the Ellington masses, and just getting to hear that band play would be really awesome.
So why do you love jazz?
It's, very democratic music, and it's a place where it's all about communing with your friends and communing not just with the people playing on stage, but with the audience. Like the metaphor of speaking a language, it feels kind of like if you're getting up on stage to play with a bunch of folks, whether you've met them before or not, it's really exciting to be making things up, but kind of knowing that where you're going, knowing how to get things going, how to make that reference to a recording that will make someone go, ah, I see, you know, that Charlie Parker recording or something like that. All of it, that shared experience makes you really feel like you belong to something bigger.
So everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I'm a great friend. I think I'm very outgoing and want to go beyond the scene, whether that's in the music scene or just going out to see what's going on in the city. You know, I've been, even when I was a teenager, going downtown to play gigs in DC, I'd still want to stay out maybe even longer than when the gig ended, or get there early because I wanted to be just hanging out with all the folks there. I'm always going out of my way to just make sure that being a good friend to my musicians and a good musician for my friends.
Hey, I really appreciate you taking a minute out today to talk about the album and your life of music, Henry. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Thanks so much, Joe. Pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Boston, Washington, D.C., Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Henry for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.